right, got a package in today from SPELAB. This is their EGR block-off plates. Going to be installing this on the 6.7 today. Going to go over install and everything with you. It's pretty straightforward. If you want to know how to delete your EGR, there are plenty of videos online on how to do that. I already have mine off the truck, so I'm not going to be showing you how to delete the EGR. This is just going over product install as far as installing the plate and quality of SPELAB. I've done a couple trucks and I've always used SPELAB, been very happy with their product. They're definitely the best looking product out there. And my favorite part about this product is it has the flow through plate on the top to keep the coolant flowing through the EGR block off. So without further ado, let's get into a little unboxing here. I kind of already opened it, but let's open it up, see what we got inside. First things first, miscellaneous nuts and bolts and other things in here, O-rings, zip ties, stuff like that. You're not going to use everything in this bag. Obviously what you take apart, you're going to put back together. It's kind of common sense. So as far as, installing this, it's pretty straightforward. Next up here, not really sure what this is for. I'm guessing this is probably for Gen 1 trucks, which is going to be 11 to 14. I have a Gen 2 truck, which is 15 to 19. So I don't have to worry about using any of this. I would use their instructions if you're curious on this and you have 11 to 14. I think you have to use it, I'm not sure. Next up, we have the plates themselves. So these are the plates. So this is the plate that gets installed first. This is the second plate that gets installed. You'll have to install an O-ring on here. I usually use a little bit of engine oil when I install this O-ring, just for a little bit easier installation. There's also a plug that you're going to install on the top of this, and there's an O-ring that you need to install on top of that plug. I'll go over all that in this video, but I just kind of want to do a brief overview before we get into it. This is going to go on your intake plenum from where your exhaust recirc goes into your intake. This is the block off of that. You will retain the gasket that you removed off that pipe that goes on your upper intake plenum. This is going to go onto your exhaust manifold. They also have a plug for this as well that you can use. Otherwise, if you want to use a sensor for your EGTs, you remove the sensor off your DPF. I don't remember which one it is. You're going to have to watch. There's plenty of sensors on there, but you can install that into here if you want to, and then you can just plug in the connector that you removed off your EGR. It's kind of on the front side, lower part of your intake on the front. That's already installed on mine. Like I said, this one we're just going to be installing the new plates. So I'll go over everything with you, how it all works, and what it's going to look like when it's done. So without further ado, let's get the camera up a little bit closer on installing these things, and we'll get into it. Okay, first things first, we're going to see what we got in our baggie here. So the big O-ring that you will receive in the bag, this is going to go on one of the block-off plates right up here. The smaller one, this one is going to go on the plate that goes onto your intake plenum. That'll be installed here like this. You won't be using this if you have a piping kit. This is only if you retain the intake plenum, the stock intake plenum on the 6.7. I will show you what I'm talking about. I have a red one installed on my old intake plenum before I installed my piping kit. I actually have it over here, so I'll show you that once we get over to the truck a little bit later. Very nice quality though by SPELAB, a little up close there. Looks very nice. Nice quality, nice print. As well as the block off plate. This is the quality for the block off plate. Looks very, very nice. Nice clear print, no damage to the product, looks very nice. And like I stated before, this is my favorite thing about the SPELAB block off kit. It does have the flow through plate, so the coolant comes up and it flows through here, which I really like. You can see this is how it's going to be installed. It gets flowed through like that. There's dowels on the engine block that line this up, which you'll see a little bit later. But we do have to install this O-ring. So what I'm going to do is take my cap off my oil here, just some engine oil, doesn't even matter what it is. A little bit on here, a decent amount on here. And then we'll just go all the way around with it. Get it nice and applied evenly to the O-ring. Okay. Now we will apply it into the block off plate here. All right, next up in the baggie that we are going to use is going to be our plug on the top block-off plate. There is a small O-ring in here for that. You gotta dig through and kind of find it. Here it is. This is the small O-ring that you'll be using for the plug that goes on the top of the block-off plate. Top of the plug looks like this. That's on the top of the block-off plate. This O-ring gets slid up and around here. So we'll apply a little bit of oil to this. And now not only do I apply a little bit of oil for easy installation, it's also a good thing to lubricate your O-rings because they do get hot. And having a little bit of engine oil there will help lubricate this and keep it from dry rotting a lot quicker. So it's always nice to lubricate your O-rings, not only for install, but for longevity as well. O-ring is installed, so now what we will do is we'll put it on here and we'll start it by hand. All right, and now you're going to have to get a Allen set to install that. I couldn't think of what it was called there for a second. All right, so we will get this tightened down with the correct Allen size. There's no torque specs on this. You're going to be using a 6 metric for this. Just until you get it hand tight, doesn't have to be super tight. So for your exhaust manifold block-off plate, this is what you're going to be screwing into that. You're going to be retaining the gasket that goes on there as well. This screws into the top of the plate here. And it's not going to go all the way down, so keep that in mind, but you do want to tighten it down a little bit there. It's not going to be flush, so don't crank it, crank it, crank it. It's not what you want to do. Now, if you would like to use your sensor to retain EGT readings, you will of course not put that in, and you will install this, and then that probe is going to be installed here into this. Well, let's over to the truck and we'll go over install. So the block-off plate that I said goes on your intake plenum, it's going to be installed right here. So your plastic intake is going to be sitting right here, and then this is where this is going to get installed. Like I said, you need to retain your gasket that goes on there, and you need to install the O-ring on the back. Like I said, if you have a piping kit, of course you're not going to have this anymore, so I won't be using this, but that is where this piece goes. And now, of course, the reason why we're doing this install is because the EGR is basically taking exhaust gases, it's recirculating it through your intake and back into your engine. And of course, since it's a diesel truck, you have soot in your exhaust gas, which you can see there is plenty inside my intake. And from the top side here, you can see how nasty and gross that is, which is why you want to get rid of that thing as soon as possible. I heard they fail very frequently and they fall off the trucks pretty frequently, so you know, it probably won't be long until you got to install this kit anyway. All right, so to install this, I'm going to have to remove off this intake tube off of my piping kit. So let me get that removed here real quick, and then we'll get into the install. All right, so I've got the intake tube removed from the turbo, so now I'm gonna get the camera a little bit closer here, and we're gonna get this plate installed. Now once you have your EGR removed, there are dowel pins on the block here and here that is going to set this in here exactly how you're gonna want it orientated. It only goes one way because there's a screw in the middle, and that thread is going to face towards the front of the block. And now once you have that installed on there, you put your top plate on, you grab your screws, no washers, and you're going to thread those in by hand. Of course, when you delete your EGR, you're going to want to drain your coolant. There's a drain plug on the bottom right side of your radiator. It's a plastic drain plug. If you watch any EGR video, they should show you where it's at. You're gonna want to drain out quite a bit, probably at least a gallon, maybe a little more. All right, so tighten these down with a 5 metric Allen key. The plug here on the top is a 6, so we're gonna snug that up. That one's nice and tight. Make sure these ones are nice and tight. Definitely nice and tight. Like I mentioned earlier, you have a vacuum line that goes through here. I'll show you that. It's right here. So you put the small cap on that vacuum line to cap that off. And your connector is right down here. So you'll have to take off one of the probes off your DPF. You'll install that here if you want to retain EGT readings. And then you'll plug it into this guy here. We've got the plate all installed. Beautiful. Looks very nice next to our Stage 1 KC Turbo and our pusher piping kit, as well as our pusher reroute. So that is how you install the SPELAB block-off kit. I really like this kit. Like I said, it retains the flow-through for the plate here, which I really enjoy. It's very nice quality, very nice print. I can't complain. One of the nicest kits out there. I mean, for 150 bucks, you can't beat this kit. So if you're looking for an EGR block-off kit, I definitely would go with SPELAB. Link will be down below if you want to get one of these ordered. Thanks for watching.